All right, everybody. So I wanted to give you a little slight recap of the yesterday and last night and this morning so you kind of know where I'm coming off from or stepping off from or whatever. So yeah, after this weekend, dealing with this little hump on my back and feeling the crazy last July 4th frequency shift, woke up a demon within. Wasn't as bad as it was prior, like last year. Last year I could barely fucking move. I could barely even get out of bed. Believe me, I couldn't be able to go up and down steps over in West Virginia. There was no way last year I would be doing what I was doing this year. So my demons are becoming weaker and weaker, and I'm becoming stronger and stronger. And so I woke up this morning after yesterday of having to sleep. Like I literally had to sleep. Like right after my transmission, I had to take a nap and sleep. I ate and I slept. And I woke up around 5 because I usually get done with these transmissions around maybe 11 or 12. And I'll eat and watch a few things on Netflix, and then I will take a nap. And I woke up around 5 and I felt okay. I felt good. And I blow my nose. Of course, I release demons and all that. And I blew my nose this morning. I woke up and I had a little bit of a headache last night. And so I kept blowing my nose. And this morning I did the same thing. And I feel good. Woke up kind of feeling tight because of walking up and down those steps over there in Blackwater Falls in West Virginia. It definitely worked my muscles, and the sweating kind of exorcised out potentially even more disease, I guess. And so I felt a little bit tight this morning, but I feel better. I have more range of motion. I think a couple days ago, before I went to West Virginia, I could barely put my arm like this, like above, because it hurt. But I don't feel as tight, but I felt tight, but not tight, if you know what I mean. Like I feel like it just worked out. Like my legs feel stronger, my arms feel stronger, my back feels stronger. It's like changing and going through a type of metamorphosis while you're still awake. Not while you're sleeping, you see in the movies. But this process, what I'm feeling now, all the different pains and blowing my nose and pulling up demons and all that stuff, it's like going through a metamorphosis. It's an amazing feeling to feel like you can recover from exercise that quickly. And what is the exercise? Just going up and down those steps. Because I'll tell you, I haven't worked out or done anything really majorly aggressive, like physically aggressive, since I couldn't tell you when. Okay, I've been home for the last 3 years. This was the first trip since the pandemic that my husband and I went on, where I even had, which even involved physical activity. It's crazy. So you think, right, like last year where I couldn't even get out of bed, I could barely even move and moved really slowly, even a few weeks after recovering from the initial craziness, you think I'll be able to go up and down? No, I know this is so much better than it was last year. Well, what do you mean last year? Because last year there was a frequency shift. It was crazy. It knocked me on my ass, knocked my husband on his ass. And he was maybe he was home for a week. No, I don't remember. Maybe he was, I forget. But it knocked everybody on their ass last year. And then I couldn't get out of bed for like a week. And so this year, this last frequency shift, July 4th, it was so much better. I mean, the demons still woke up. I mean, I think there's still like a little bit of a hump. I don't know if you can see it. But this is the energy. This is your main immune system. This is what you need to know that this is working the way it's supposed to in a crazy frequency shift and in a crazy environment. And you need to feed your body. Like literally you need to feed your body. So that way you can handle these frequency shifts and give your body the necessary nutrients. So even though I felt a little bit like off kilter and all that, and felt whatever, I still feel strong. Like I literally still feel strong. My nose is clear. My lower alimentary canal is clear. And so before I couldn't barely breathe a couple years ago. Whenever the frequency would shift, either I'd get a lot of hives like all over. I have only now one hive I woke up with this morning. Not a big deal, less than what it was. But I remember a couple years ago, and even subsequently after each initial waking up with the demon, my nose would be full up And you'd hear it in my voice. You'd hear me being stuffed up. You'd hear the sickness. You'd hear all the release process up here. And so anyways, yeah, not only the frequency shifts, but people's predisposed issues are causing so much stuff in the population. And everyone has their blame game. And I understand, because I'll tell you, when I realized that I had a lot of responsibility for a lot of things, and I finally faced my own demons and faced my own responsibility and accountability, then you stop blaming things. You stop getting on those bandwagons and you step back. And you look at how our society has been constructed and all the different brainwashing and propaganda that we've undergone. And so right now, during this particle acceleration, okay, particle acceleration will accelerate your intentions. Not only people work themselves to death, but they also play themselves to death. Right now, people are working themselves to death, and they're also playing themselves to death because they cannot sit back for a minute and release those demons and take on the substance, because maybe they can't, maybe they feel they have to keep up with other people. I mean, that's the nature of what's going on. Or they will be inactivists themselves to death. And so you have a chance to reconfigure your life to save yourself. If you are too involved with pleasing the world, you'll become a slave to everyone's validation. And so right now we're in a type of self-induced slavery. It's still slavery, right? Because you were never shown a different way. Slavery isn't just toiling in the cornfields or the cotton fields. It's forcing people to stay within a very narrow paradigm because you feel uncomfortable changing. People enslave their friends and family, and they don't even realize it, because to them, slavery is toiling in the cotton field. The irony is, prior slaves from 200 years ago have no problem enslaving their own people because they refuse to change. It's about image to them, right? And also converting somebody else and making them, like you. And when they don't like you, you can't make someone like you if they don't like you. You can't force them and say that, that they're bad or wrong. They have to have a reason to like you, have to have a reason to change their mind. And that takes work. Some people will always hate me. I realize that. Some people will always hate me because of however I was back then, and, and all that. They didn't realize that it's all a transition. We're all going through stuff. People react in different ways. And so no matter what, people are going to hate you. You can't try to convert them. It's the ones that say, okay, I get where you're going because I've been that way too. I've reacted to things, taking things out of proportion. I've had to do things that weren't, always friendly to the rest of the population. But we all go through our journey. But you have to look deeper to what the intention is. And if you can't look deeper than the intention, then you'll look at the surface stuff, and then that surface stuff will then color your perception. And some people never get out of that surface stuff because they never can look deeper than with the intention. They always think that everyone's out to get them and all of that. And so I could still like people for who they are. It doesn't mean I agree with everything they do, but I can still like people for who they are. I can still disagree with what they say on Facebook, which means I don't confront them. I just take their memes and I modify it and say, okay, this, but I don't just speak to them. It's everyone like them. And so then you're not really singling anyone out. You're just saying, okay, let's take a look at this meme and look at it a different way. And so that's how we evolve without confronting people, is that we take what people say, that 50 other people say the same thing, and evolve the conversation. Okay? And so the irony is, prior slaves from 200 years ago have no problem enslaving their own people because they refuse to change. It's all about image to them. Slavery does not have to look like a certain way. Slavery is when you force people to stay in a very narrow paradigm and then you blame somebody else. That's slavery. Okay, so I'm speaking plainly now. I don't say specific cultures, because you can say 200 years ago, it could be Irish, it could be this, it could be that. 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 500 years ago, 100 years ago, 6,000 years ago, there's always been slaves. There's always been somebody taking advantage of somebody else's body, mind, and spirit for their own personal gain. Okay, there's always been slaves. People do that to each other. Some people enslave each other. And we have human trafficking. That's slavery. That's slavery today, human trafficking. Slavery has never gone out of the wayside. It's just been modified and colored and all that, as far as just like how people perceive it. Oh, it's not slavery, it's work, right? And some people say, okay, well, when you work for a company and you're not allowed to do this, and this, but even though it says that's right to hire, right to fire type of thing, and that's the only job in the whole area, well, it's like a type of slavery. So then you're forced to deal with stuff. And then someone brings up the human trafficking and say that's the only slavery. No, slavery comes in so many different forms. It's not just one form. It's not just human trafficking. It's not just work. It's not just, hanging out with people and beating them into submission if they don't conform, and, excommunicate them and make them conform. Slavery works in so many different ways, okay? We have to look at how we look at slavery as forcing people to stay in one way, and if they don't stay in that one way, then people do things to then force them back into line, okay? That's slavery. There is psychological slavery. There's physical slavery. There is spiritual slavery, religious slavery. Look at people that are in different religious cults. And if they leave, they will be risking life and limb. Okay, people are afraid to leave cults. They're afraid to leave their religions, lest what people around them will do to them. They're afraid to be on their own. So they get stuck in a religion. They get stuck in a political thought process. They get stuck in a science dogma. They're afraid to be on their own. That's slavery, when you psychologically imprison people through fear. Okay? All right? And so I speak plainly because I already earned my hatred. All right? So like I said a couple posts ago, I dare anyone that's boisterously one-sided to take the other side and piss off everyone on your Facebook equally. I dare you to lose friends. If you're so boisterous about one side, then I dare you to take the other side, understand them, and piss off your friends. That's all one-sided. I already did it. Remember how I was anti-V, and then I turned pro-V, and I even gave money to some of the V companies, right? Okay, so I put my money where my mouth was at the time. Then I'm like, I'm not even pro-V or anti-V. It's like, it's not necessary if you know how to reinforce your own immune system with food, with meat, milk, cheese, eggs, okay? And a little bit of fruits and vegetables. So I don't have any issue with the V's, because you can, if you get an adverse reaction, it's because you already had a deficit. Because my husband got a tetanus V, no adverse reaction, right? Because he already was strong enough. He can handle taking on whatever programming and releasing anything excess. Okay? So if you have an issue with the V's, it's because you're already in deficit. And look how many people are in deficit, because look how many people are anti-V, and they are so reacting to that's proof that people have reproduced on bodies in such deficit that their kids don't have a fucking chance. The parents don't have a chance. The grandparents don't have a chance. Because they're in such deficit that everything that triggers them will cause them to be so afraid of everything. And that's why we're in a great reset. And so I speak plainly because I already earned my hatred. I don't care if people hate me. I mean, I do, but at this point it doesn't even matter. We're in a great reset. You have a chance to change the way you do things to save yourself, right? Especially, all right, to save yourself if you choose to. If you choose not to, then whose fault is that? Not anyone else but yours, especially if you are a patriarch or a matriarch. Or some of you are patriarchs and you are a leader of a family or of a group of friends. Some of you are matriarchs and you are an all-knowing mother, grandmother, and you have a huge audience of people that you're going and preaching to, whatever it is. You could totally change the course of your whole Facebook audience, your whole family, your whole friends. Some of you choose not to because you're too afraid. Because you're a slave to the old ways or even to the new age ways and haven't even questioned that. All right? And so if you choose not to save yourself, whose fault is that? Not anyone else but yours, especially if you are a patriarch or a matriarch. You have the chance to change the course of your family, your friends, just by being a different representation. But when you're a slave, all you know how to do is follow orders and look around you. I mean, you're taking cues from all these meditation and yoga people, and they're not getting any better. They're aging out, dying from heart attacks and strokes, and on endless amounts of herbs and extracts and detoxes and diets. And so even those that take on the new conspiracy stuff, I'll tell you, some people take on this new stuff, they're like, they can't question it yet because it's just so new to them. Some people are just so new into the holistic world. So they're not ever going to question it because it's different from the allopathic world to them. Well, they're too far gone. In this environment, they're too far gone. I don't speak to them. But there's people in my world, in the J world, that's been in the holistic world for years. Years. They could question it. They could question all the meditation shit. They could question all the crazy breathing exercises. They could question everything with the cryotherapy and jumping into cold water or doing massive amounts of saunas. Okay, but will they question it today? Well, probably not, because it's probably too painful to question those methodologies. But when you're a slave, all you know how to do is follow orders. Look around you. Slavery is built into people's mindsets. And so the lack of evolution is a type of slavery. When someone stops you from evolving, that's slavery. When you feel a pain and someone's there, you know, I need to go and remedy that. I need to take that surgically out. I need to do this. I need to do that, to that evolution, to your body's ability to release and take on pressure. There are people in your world, your friends, your family, people on Facebook will go and try to enslave you and curb that evolution and stop it so they can keep you in that little narrow box called the medical holistic energy healing world. That is slavery. And so then you see these huge slave towers called the hospital system. Then you see all the reinforcement centers called the churches, the synagogues, all the different religions. And then you see families. You can call them communism, right? Because it's all about the collective and the family. It's all about everybody else, keeping everybody else in line, but not keeping themselves in line, or evolving as an individual is about everybody else, saving somebody else, taking somebody else down, you know, doing something to somebody else, but never taking personal accountability, and then completely being distracted. And then people are suffering. And so they're into alcohol and the drugs and sex and all these different things. And so then slavery is the ownership of a person or as property, especially in regards to their labor. Okay, so that is like technical when you were taking something where, like back in the 1800s, when they actually owned people and they had slave quarters and all that stuff, right? So there was an actual, if you had papers that said you were from this is your name, your slave name, I guess, and then you're told to be in this area and to do a certain thing, whether you work in-house or outside the house. Well, now we have slavery in people's minds. That was physical slavery, right? Back in the 1860s, that was physical slavery. And so slavery is the ownership of a person or as a property, especially in regards to their labor. Slavery typically involves compulsory work with the slave's location of work and residence dictated by the party that holds them in bondage. Enslavement is the placement of a person into slavery. Okay, so we have people who physically hold people, like domestic violence, Stockholm syndrome. When you are owning people's minds, when you completely just do not give them the option to explore something because you have completely just bullied them. You hit them, you bully them. You excommunicate them. You play these psychological games with people so they never get out of the bondage of what they're in. They're trying to break free and then they're held in bondage. Kids are under that type of thing with their parents who don't understand evolution. Kids are not only starved, but they're hit. They are admonished or forced into belief systems. And I understand, I mean, I was raised Jewish, but I'll tell you, you know, it wasn't like some places where if you're in a religion, I don't know. Is Jewish religion better than some born again Christian or other types of other religions people have an issue with? I couldn't tell you. Would it be better for a person to be born without religion? Well, I guess it just depends on the time. Is it necessary to have religion today? If you can't seem to evolve and you want to be enslaved, but you don't know that because this is all you know, I couldn't tell you. I was raised with Judaism. If I was raised with no religion, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what it'd be like to be raised with no religion. I couldn't tell you. You could ask someone out there that's never had religion. They were not raised with religion, so I don't know. But right now people are in bondage because forget the religious part of it. Though religion does fall into the medical holistic energy healing world. The kids are forced taking elderberry syrup, taking all the different tinctures. These kids are forced into surgeries. Their kid, 18 years of bondage as a kid. And so that's why it's kind of ironic to see everyone's like, oh yeah, save the children. From what? Save the children from what? Going from one slavery system to another? That's what some of these movies, that's why I was questioning this whole Barbie versus The Sound of Freedom. Okay? Because just because you save a kid from human trafficking, sexual slavery, and potentially even labor camps that some of these kids go to, going into a family that only believes in certain radical legalistic religions, as well as the herbs and extracts and the surgeries and the lack of independent thought for 18 years, you're going into from one. So if you think about it, isn't it better to have an adult to release themselves from bondage and still be able to contribute to society without having an authority keep you in line? And so no matter what, kids are fucked until our society gets better at understanding evolution. So it doesn't matter if you're a kid in the Barbie world or a kid in the Sound of Freedom world. it doesn't matter where you go when the society hasn't evolved. How many parents haven't evolved? So many of them. Just look on your Facebook. All right. And so then I was just posting definitions of what collective is, because you'll hear it: collective, individual, capitalism, communism, individualism type of thing, right? So collective, done by people acting as a group, cooperative enterprise like a co-op, right? An off-gridding community. And individualism, the habit or principle of being independent and self-reliant. A culture that celebrates individualism. Well, I don't think about the wealth thing. But in a capitalist and a communist society, the word individualism will fit within that context. You have to now develop another context that's outside. So there's the context number one is the habit or principle of being independent and self-reliant, a culture that celebrates individualism and wealth. And similar words: independence, self-direction, self-reliance, free thinking, free thought, originality, unconventionality, eccentricity, libertarianism. So there's political names for it, economical names for it. And even then, with this whole individualism and wealth, then you could be enslaving somebody. So you are self-empowered to do things on your own outside of a corporation. And so then you are enslaving somebody else to then and build up your wealth. Okay? Because even libertarianism believes in straight up capitalism, because they're not outside of that whole money-making venture, like aggressive amounts of money. All right. And then the second definition, a social theory favoring freedom of action for individuals over collective or state control. Encouragement has been given to individualism, free enterprise, and the pursuit of profit. See, everything's about fucking profit. And so there's got to be a third definition with individualism, where it's not based on pursuing, how would you look at pursuit of profit? Individuals are so self-reliant that you can still contribute to the collective without compromising the collective or taking advantage of them or using them as a tool to get to the next thing. See, that's what right now we're in the process of converting to that on some level, because there is the J world where we are individual from the medical system, the holistic system. We're not going to need the police force unless something is out of control completely, but we're not going to be using the police force all the time because no one's going to fuck with us, because we're pretty strong. We have our own protection, and we're not going to put ourselves in certain circumstances that will warrant a police force to babysit us. Okay, and so when you think about all the different protection measures, even fires, we need firemen in case something happens, but I'm taking care of the electricity here. I'm doing all the things to make sure that I don't have to use the system so much. Okay, so it's all relative to what you think individual is. And some people are like, oh, I'm so individual, I don't know. Everyone has their whatever. But the medical holistic system is a huge bureaucracy, and it's a huge dependency. Okay? Once you get independent of the medical holistic system and you never have to use herbs and extracts or surgeries or oncology, then you're not going to need half the fucking program things are out there. You'll just pursue your whatever it is that you're doing. You'll live within the confines of the law, and you won't be a problem to anyone. You won't be calling the ambulance all the time. You won't be calling the police all the time. You won't be using the fire system all the time. You won't even be going to the medical system all the time, right? You will be a contributing member of society, peaceful, productive, and completely, keeping your nose clean. That's what the system wants. And you're not going to be reproducing like crazy. Developing more things for the system to go and figure out how to raise this kid correctly in a crazy ass society, right? As this. That's what the system wants. I know what the system wants because of what they have been practicing the last how many years. Trying to control reproduction. Trying to figure out how to raise these kids correctly. Trying to stop these kids from having kids. Stop continuing the suffering. Okay? Because what happens when people suffer and they're so damaged, they drop few children. You want to have relatively less damage so the children have a chance to grow up without suffering so much and turn into things that destroy them and cause another chain reaction of suffering. But in this society, man, I don't know. at this point, people need to become whole again before they have kids. If they have kids and get these kids whole, are they willing to go through the process? And it may be impossible because some kids are too far gone. So mom has to make sure that she's okay. Okay, so that way there's one kid out of 5 or 3 or 2 that might survive this if they have really amazing immune system. But the other kid has got all the leftovers, and so they're going to have a harder time. You can't save everyone, but mama needs to save herself. All right, so... okay. So that's collective or collectivism. Then there's communism. I gotta put capitalism. I forgot to do that. Communism, a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. It is not saying that you give up your life for somebody else. It says a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. Well, you get your needs met. You're using your capabilities. You'll still be able to do things. It's not like you're stuck in a box. I mean, and I'm going to Google capitalism. So I didn't put that in there. Capitalism definition. Capitalism, an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. An era of free market capitalism. And that will turn into slavery. Capitalism can turn into slavery because then people will do whatever they can to get the profits, even if it means compromising their workforce. And that's why then all those different unions came about, because people were taking advantage of people in pursuit of profit. That's why you got to be careful with some of these terms. So you really want to advocate slavery, against your friends and family, slavery to people who have issues. They have medical issues, physical issues, they have mental issues, and you want to force them into these widget developing jobs. Okay? I mean, when you think about it, I'm not made for a freaking factory. I want to use my brain. But where can you really use your brain? So every job that I had when I was an admin, I was not only doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I also went and tried to do other things to make the systems better. But sometimes people don't want people to change the systems. It's fine the way they are. There is a specific process for change. But I wasn't completely developed in my thinking back then, so I was just trying to make everything better according to what I thought was better. Okay? And so just turning widgets daily can be a pain in the ass for people who are really not only evolutionary, but creative and want to make the world better, but systems are already put in place in some of these corporations and these offices. They want just widget turners. Well, that's not me. I'm not a widget turner. I like to interact with people. I like to develop things. I like to save the world in a different way without compromising myself. I like to future think. I like to point out all the problems and figure out how to fix them. Not everybody is a fucking factory worker. So people in my area are like, why don't you get a job? Go work at this factory. Go work at this. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Who are you to tell me what kind of... That's capitalism. That's somebody who is trying to impose their way by making you feel bad because you don't have the kind of job that they have. And so they'll make you feel psychologically horrible about yourself by saying, well, you should get this job. You shouldn't be at home, sitting at home. Who the fuck says I'm sitting at home? I'm doing this shit. I'm writing books, which is more than what people do out there that work in a fucking factory. They can't because they're working in a factory. Okay, so either write books and innovate or you become a widget turner. Either way, you have a fucking choice. You work with your brain or work with your body. Okay, so then we have these capitalists that are like, oh, we need your body. We don't care if it compromises your body, mind, and spirit, but we need your body because you're not doing what we're doing. And so you're bad, wrong, and this, and you're on welfare, and you're doing this, and you're doing that. Fuck you. That's slavery. That's psychological slavery. And there are Republicans that do that. There are people that work in companies that they choose to work in, and they're pissed off because some people don't work as hard as them. Are you fucking kidding me? You choose to work your ass off. Okay, fine. You can pull back a little bit and do just what you need to do, but some people have to go above and beyond. Fine, go above and beyond. Then sometimes you have to pull back and not go above and beyond and just do your job so you can fucking survive. That's why kill yourself for somebody else. That's slavery, when you hurt yourself for somebody else. That's what we need to breed out of the population, is that type of imposition on people, that type of projection. And I'll tell you, a lot of these able Republicans who have such, I don't know, I'm messing with Republicans, but even Democrats do this, liberal Democrats do this, but I'm going to mention the Republicans. I've lived in a Republican world, and I'm from California, so I've gotten the heat of not being like them. And so, yeah, they've said stuff. And it's like, you know, you gotta just chill the fuck out. Not everybody is like other people, okay? When you're very able-bodied and somebody else isn't because they have evolutionary stuff, doesn't mean they can do what you can do. Get off this whole, you know, thing of like, you're not working hard as me, so you're not worth anything. That's some fucked up shit. And that's what I see in a lot of the Republican side of it, that are denigrating the Democrats, the welfare recipients. Well, no one told you to work your ass off. If you choose to, that's your choice. Some people feel like they can't for whatever reason. Some people already have other issues. Some people feel they can't break into some of these jobs because of racism or other type of stuff. Even if they put on the right clothes and try to have the right manners, people still have their perceptions of people. And so they get locked into a specific lifestyle and belief system. Because then that's the jail, because the people around them reinforce that. Whether it's somebody out there that won't hire them or their own friends and family saying, don't even bother trying to break into that because that's not your world. This is your world. That's slavery. And so now we have the internet. Now we have certifications. Now we have the ability, you have your own self-publishing where you can write you have blogs. You have people like that are neurodivergents, right? Which I Googled that. That means autistic. I didn't realize that. that have a place where they can go and speak their mind. They'll get backlash, yes. Like the young lady, you know, over here that was talking about Jason Aldean's song. And she actually self-recognized herself as neurodivergent. I'm like, wow, okay. But, I mean, that's a place where she can go. That's great. Fuck yeah. If she wants to focus on one thing called racism, fine. And point out the nuances of how racism translates and how it manifests in songs, great. Okay? And so when slavery gets out of control, causing people to do harm to themselves so they can feed themselves, the suffering is astronomical. They wake up the spirits within. Okay? And so what does it mean they wake up? When people, you know, alcohol. Okay? Alcoholics, alcohol. They wake up the spirits within. Your immune system gets suppressed. When your immune system gets suppressed, the demons within invite things into your world you ordinarily would not invite. Okay, so when you think about it, slaves have to drink because they have to get out of that suffering. They have to do drugs. They don't have to, but people are suffering so much because they're harming themselves in the medical holistic system so they can still go to work and be a great performer and get the accolades and make money for all of their different things. I'm telling you, it doesn't take that much to live in our society when you think about it. When you let go of all the different, you know, hobbies and addictions to collecting stuff, and you scale down your lifestyle, your belief system, even, you know, the things that you don't really need, but it's more of a thing, you know, of hobby, I guess. Because there's ways to do things without spending so much money. You don't have to work so hard. But people do because they're trying to keep up with things. And when they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, then they have to harm themselves in order to keep up so they can keep going and going until there's nothing left. And so when people are alcoholics or drug addicts, right? When your immune system gets suppressed, the demons within invite things into your world you ordinarily would not invite. That's why people do things out of character when they are under the influence. But that's everything that is addicting and used as a distraction, destruction. And so all drugs and alcohol are tools for the system to keep people within certain parameters. Yeah. And to use against you if you make a mistake, like DUIs, like things that people do when they're under the influence and they black out or whatever. And so they did try to ban it. Remember Prohibition? And people rebelled. And then you have Al Capone that came up and the mafia that did all the bootlegging. And then you had those easy places. What do you call it? I forget. Okay. Places are underground. There was a name for it, but I think I messed with the name. I didn't get it right. But people rebelled. And so the system figured out how to use it against people when all the conditions are right. And so if the system Stop causing trauma to people. People would stop suffering so much. They wouldn't need to turn to anything. But that's not the intention of the system. That's what you have to understand. Until people get under control, this is the outcome. It is the crazy addictions and under the influence and the major distractions. Okay, remember, I'm not judgmental, okay? I don't care if you drink or do drugs. I know people are suffering. I've been suffering. But I've chosen to suffer and face it versus turning to something. People who are suffering so much, they have to turn to drugs, alcohol, and other things. And I understand that. I get it. But other people are not suffering as much, and they have the ability to face it and release those demons and become relatively whole. And that's who I'm talking to. If you're really too far gone, hey, I'm so sorry for offending you. You don't have to listen to this, but some people are not that far gone. They're not suffering that much, and they have the ability to turn shit around. They have the space, they have the time, they have the support system, they have the food and the money and whatever to turn that shit around and give their kids a fighting chance. Okay, so remember, I'm not judgmental. I'm just observing what trauma does to people, what it does to generations. And then the offspring's generations later don't know why they are suffering so much. Somebody must break the chain. Remember, all death, I don't care what it is, comes from violating the laws of life. All death comes from out of control suffering. And so again, love is not the answer. Respecting yourself, having a mother respect herself and teaching kids how to respect themselves, that's the fucking answer. The answer is not communism or capitalism. It is individualism, but then there has to be a third context, a third definition that does not have to do with pursuing wealth and pursuing all these economical outcomes that our society has been built on, causing people to enslave themselves and destroy themselves in the process. And so when slaves have to medicate themselves in order to work, that also means herbal remedies, okay? Then that means that, yeah, you are a slave when you have to remedy yourself to go to work. And that means herbal remedies. So what is medication, herbs, and the sun? And so these 5 drugs can put you at greater risk for sunburn-like symptoms such as rash or unwanted side effects. And so antibiotics, antifungals, statins, cholesterol medication, diabetes medication. And so how do medications affect your heat tolerance? Well, first, it's important to understand how your body deals with heat and works to maintain that ideal internal temperature called 98.6 degrees. To cool off your body has several tricks. One is perspiration or sweat. So when I was going up those stairs in West Virginia, my husband's like, God damn, your face is so sweaty. Like I was sweating all over the place. But I had the strength to go up the steps, and I felt my heart beating like out of my chest, but I had a strong, remember, I reinforced the walls of my heart. I had 3 years of being at home and the last 7 years of the J world. Okay? And so I was sweating like a storm. When sweat evaporates from your skin, it cools the body. And then I was eating the nachos and the chili from that Black River boardwalk where they had food and they had the concessions, all that stuff. And so another is when the blood vessels underneath your skin vasodilate, widen, and bring warm blood closer to your skin, allowing your skin to release the heat. Okay? And so several medications, though, can interfere, several medications and herbs. Remember, herbs act as medication as well, because they're just a different form of the same medication. Several different medications, though, can interfere with this complex thermoregulation system by limiting the body's ability to sweat or by reducing blood flow to the skin. Medications and herbs can also cause dehydration, and some may make the skin more sensitive to the sun, causing a rash or sunburn. And how many people out there are on the herbs, the extracts, that do the same thing? They vasoconstrict. They vasoconstrict the blood vessels. You can go and Google all the different herbs people use for specific things that also, as a side effect, vasoconstrict people's ability to release the heat when you're in a hot climate. And that's why this heat, this climate change is going to kick people's asses. Because how many people are on those type of diabetes medications? They're on statins, they're on antifungals and antibiotics. Holy shit, that's like almost everybody that's in the medical holistic system. That's why you're going to see a lot of died suddenly. It's because we have some people who are in those specific types of medications and herbal extracts and tinctures. That's why you can't say anything anymore, because most people are too far gone. They are too far gone. All you got to do is just watch it. And so there is no evolution in capitalism. There's no evolution in communism. There is evolution in individualism. When people take care of themselves properly, they naturally work together. Nobody has to force them to work together nicely. Law enforcement will not be needed if people individually took care of themselves properly. The collective will destroy themselves or build themselves up. But it's up to the individual. If society is shit, which is right now, it's because each person is full of shit until they release their demons. Our society is going to be shit for a long ass time. So just because a few of us have released demons or taken on the pressure and dealing with our stuff doesn't mean society is going to fucking change. We're just a representation, and we're a small, tiny fucking seed. Very minuscule, tiny, tiny seed. As I've been speaking for the last 7 years, the last 3 years, the last couple months, and there are still people in the chemtrails world that are too far gone. They are too far gone. They won't listen to my information. They won't even take it on as even a possibility. Because they're too far gone. It's about diets, organic, and blaming the nurses for all the V's. They can't even, and I'll get to that whole thing later of how, when someone finally can face their own fucking demons when they realize they are mostly accountable for why they have the issues they have. All right? And so when your body isn't working anymore, right? When your body isn't working anymore, you disable the means for it to work to your benefit. You made it work to somebody else's benefit. That's slavery. And so when I was studying all the different cells, and there was a term called work that the cells go through. The cells go through a process called work. Okay, so the micro is completely relevant to the macro. And then when that cell goes through all that work, that's energy expended. When that energy is expended going through that process, then you have to keep feeding and replacing the resources so that a cell can go keep working for you. But what people do is when they feel stuff, when the cells work the way they're supposed to, people feel stuff, they disable the cells from working, so then they don't have to pay those cells to work with food. And so the cells stop working, and then people systematically shut down their body with oncology, with herbal remedies, with tinctures, with pills, power supplements, detoxes, Rife machines, oncology, surgeries that cause more trauma to the body. And so your cells work in a specific way, and they release energy, and they also take in energy. But what people do, they shut down the factories in their body. Just like when you see factories shut down in a community, that community starts going to shit. You've seen what happened in Detroit, right? Took away all those car factories or car whatever places, and now Mother Nature is coming back again, overtaking the buildings and the houses. And so slavery is shutting down your own body to work for somebody else. That's slavery in a nutshell. The whole health and wellness world, the medical, the holistic energy healing world, it's all occupational therapy. So you keep going back to working for the system until the system doesn't need you anymore, and they don't need your family or your kids, right? Now you have to determine your own worth. If you don't know your own worth, the system will determine it for you. Okay, so again, your cells go through work and it produces energy. Just like when you see a factory, all that energy that people do with the factory, the outcome is either, a widget turned or a product made. And then it gets sold on the open market, go through another process of energy. And then the people get money for it. Okay, so when your body goes through processes, like my body has gone through processes, what do? I feed it. I was so hungry after that walk up the West Virginia, up those stairs, that I was just slurping down not only the water, but I was eating those nachos with the cheese and the corn and the chili. It was so fucking good. And so I fed my body to replace what it lost during that process. That's what people don't do. So that's why they're so skinny. And when you're a marathon runner, you're taking even more energy away from you, and you're not replacing it. So then people who are marathon runners are only like bones and muscle, and then it dies suddenly because there's no adipose tissue, no reserves to deal with that energy conversion. And so then sun worshipers, be careful worshiping the sun in this environment. It's kicking people's asses. Particle acceleration is on bodies in deficit equals disintegration. People are falling apart, aging out. The heat index is becoming stronger. So when you saw that gif of that cartoon just pixelating and then being dispersed, that's called entropy. Okay, disintegration is entropy. Negentropy is bringing things into form, coming back. But if you have so much negentropy, you could be as big as a house. So there's got to be a balance between entropy and negentropy, and you must understand the processes that go along with that and not mischaracterize the energy and systematically shut your body down, which people do in the medical holistic energy healing world. And so People don't understand that the heat index is becoming so strong that those that are in major deficit, that already have diagnosable conditions or breaking bones, the more they stay out in this environment and not understand what they're doing to themselves, they are going to keep deteriorating their body, their mind, and their spirit. And of course, alcohol and drugs accelerate that whole process. And you know, food, they can't eat all the food in the food supply because it's painful. That's a systematic depopulation at the hands of the people, at the hands of the individuals, at the hands of the mothers, the fathers, the sisters, the brothers, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, all the relatives. They reinforce the deterioration, the depopulation, the disintegration process, because nobody wants to fucking change because they don't believe climate change is happening. They don't believe any of the conspiracy shit, right? Because they're all mainstreamers. Well, that's fine. Die suddenly will be your gift, because who wants to watch people suffer from cancer, disease, and chronic illness? That's why these turbo cancers take people out in like 3 weeks. They get diagnosed one day, and 3 weeks later, they're gone. Because they never wanted to change, and they hardly had anything to them. And so then I saw somebody on Facebook say something about refined food. They showed a French man who was really elderly, missing teeth and sunken in face and short, and he's from France, and he has this big, huge baguette on his shoulder. So that's bread in one way, right? And they showed the bread in a bag, the white bread in a bag. And it's the white bread versus that sourdough baguette. And they're like, yeah, this is why people are having issues, because food is now more refined. And of course, this person also has issues. They're born again Christian, which is not a bad thing, but they also went to the medical system. They are managing a disease. They are on all these activist trains. Not only are they managing a disease, but they're highly religious, and they are denigrating the food supply. They're projecting their intolerance to the current food supply. And they're trying to say that this person who's old with a bag of bread is the epitome of health. That's how messed up our system is, right? So the reason why food must become more refined is because bodies are not strong enough to break it down. When you have a strong body, refined food or unrefined food won't make a difference to you, because you'll break it down and you'll have the energy for it to release it as well. That's what my body's doing right now. It's becoming stronger in this environment. You can't split your affections. You either become strong for your environment and live through each evolution, or become strong against the environment and pass away because you keep resisting. That's what goes on in the medical, holistic, energy healing, religious world. Because they're all about all the holistic shit. Not everybody. I don't know, because I've yet to see anyone, because it's still too new. But I have yet to really see anyone in the religious world understand what pain is. Okay? I have yet to see anyone that understands how to face the pain. They're not remedying it away, or repeating scripture over and over again, or using some oncological or some surgery or some protocol in the medical holistic world. I haven't seen anyone in the religious world that has made a representation to face the fucking pain. Even in the Jehovah's Witnesses are all using jelly juice against their symptoms. The Hebrews, I haven't seen anyone want to face pain. They're doing the herbs and the extracts and all the diets and all the organic stuff. I have not seen any of them do something different. Okay? And so when the environment stops shifting so aggressively, I won't have to work as hard to keep up with the environment, right? Right now, I'm working so hard. I'm working hard. My body's working hard to stay relevant in this aggressive environment. Working hard doesn't just mean giving away your body to somebody else. It also means that you're doing everything you can to survive this world and the transition to the next world. No matter what, you have to work to live, but work means different things to different people. Your cells must work to earn the food. If your cells don't work for you, you'll stop feeding them. That's so when you don't feel the energy anymore, you'll stop feeding, right? I can feel the hunger and I feed it. I've heard somebody say, on my Facebook, it's sort of in the J world, but not really. She felt the massive, aggressive hunger. She didn't say she was going to feed it, but she just said, I feel such a hunger pain. All right? People do that all the time. They allow their body to stop working for them, so they stop feeding their body. Some people can handle biological work. Some also can handle physical work for somebody else until they can't anymore. Then they stop their body from working for them and they force their body to work for somebody else. That's oncology. That's all the herbal remedies. That's the pot. That's all the different, everything. That's why they're relaxing more on the pot stuff. Because they know people are fucking suffering, but they still have to work. When you force your body to stop working for you and then you don't feed it, it's like your boss disabling your car so you don't come to work and they don't have to pay you. You are the boss of your body and you are disabling your body from working for you. And then you're punishing it for something you're doing by starving it. That's the mortal world. That's the slavery. And that's what people are doing right now, today. They are disabling their body's ability to work for them. And then when they finally retire and their body is about 3/4 of the way dead and only 1/4, and this environment is so aggressive, you think they're going to enjoy their retirement? No, they'll die within maybe a year, 2 years, even less. Because once they stop working, right, and their body isn't going through those things, then they're at home and the body then goes into, yeah. That's what people say, that when they retire, that's why retirement doesn't last long for a lot of people, because their body is used to that kind of lifestyle. And when you change and you don't support that change correctly, the body just says, okay, I'm done. That was built into the Social Security system. That was built into all, yeah. Now, people in America, when you have Social Security and other things, now you want to be able to live through your freaking retirement years and not die during your retirement years. All right. And so now I've gotten a little bit bigger. I'm not super big, but I mean, I have a little bit of muscle. I don't work out, but I have muscle and I don't work out. I felt when I woke up this morning, I felt a little bit tight, like I was working out last night, but no. I mean, my back feels a little bit tight, but I feel good. I feel strong. Okay. And so bigger people with strong vital organs can survive in this aggressive environment, so as long as they do not traumatize their body and mind. And so big is all relative. But you see people who are morbidly obese, see it all over Facebook. There's morbidly obese, there's bigger girls, yes, that can carry it, and everything is relative, okay? And so you better have collagen, fat, skin, and muscle, but not too much of any one or too little, okay? You have too much collagen, all right, there's something to that. There's too much fat, not enough collagen. So much skin, but not enough fat and collagen, and too much muscle, but not enough fat, skin, and I mean, you'll have skin, but you won't have enough collagen or fat. You got to have a balance of all of those, right? Balance. Aggressive environments will take substance away from people, and if you are deficient in balanced weight distribution with weak vital organs, yeah, see you later. Take the time to build up and release any excess and build up what is deficient. And so that's the thing with people who are really obese, who have been doing who have had issues in the past. Right now, they're working on fumes. They are rolling the dice. They're not doing any changes. No. Because that would require them to change the way they do stuff. And if they're relying on social capital because of their church and because of their job and because they have to look good taking care of their kid, they're just going to play the game of, here, look at me, I'm great, and this and that. And then one day they don't wake up. One day they're died suddenly. Because they never really changed. Either they got too big, or they got way too deficient, way too underweight. And so this is my challenge to those who are boisterous about taking one side or the other. Main takeaway for me, I dare one-sided people to learn the other argument and piss off your audience and followers. I dare you to lose friends. I dare you to take a stand for yourself. I dare you to challenge your own friends. I dare you to challenge your own husband without destroying him, right? It's okay people have different opinions, but you can always juxtaposition yourself with the rest of the population, and there's a way to do it eloquently. Okay? I dare those who are anti-V people, anti-VACCINE, to understand why VACCINESs aren't dangerous if you understand how to feed the energy and not use remedies against it. See, V's aren't dangerous. You have to relax. You have to react to the symptoms in a different way. Feed it. Release the demons. Pull out the shit. Rest. Take a fucking back seat to all the social bullshit out there. All right? Nothing is dangerous if it's FDA approved. If it's not FDA approved and there's a specific claim around it, or in the health and wellness world, or even food, then you don't take it. But if it is FDA approved and it's gone through all the different processes and all the different qualifications and whatever, then it's not dangerous. But why do people get adverse reactions? Because they're deficient. Even those eating an apple. They're deficient if they have allergies to it. They're deficient if they have egg allergies. You think that the eggs are fucking poison? But that's the mentality of those that have deficiencies and they can't handle evolution. They think everything is poison. And so when you look at the population who thinks meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, and vegetables, air, water, and the soil, and the trees, and people, and everything is poison, they don't have any ability to adapt. They have no ability to evolve. They have no ability to fucking survive. They might as well just stay at home and never do anything and then rot away because they can't handle diversity. They can't handle the environment. They can't handle shit. They can't even handle fucking food. Okay? So I dare those who are anti-V people to understand why Vs aren't dangerous if you understand how to feed the energy and not use remedies against it. I dare you to say the system didn't adequately prepare you for evolution because you even bought into the remedies, the painkillers, the surgeries, and the trauma in the medical holistic system. I dare to say that maybe oncology was never the answer. I dare you to say herbs are too aggressive for a body trying to live. If you can't, then you're not willing to evolve because there's always another side to the argument. You have to understand balance. Just like I said, get off the J juice. You don't need it anymore. It's fucking aggressive right now. It's going to the ionosphere is going to wake up your environment and wake up your body. So you have to understand balance. Just like I said, get off the J juice. You don't need it anymore. I showed you I can evolve. I can show you the upsides and the downsides to everything. Can you even question your own fucked up belief system? Well, fucking belief system. Who's to say that it's fucked up, right? People believe what they believe because they were given that belief. I fucking dare you. I bet you won't even take my challenge because, again, you're not willing to evolve. You're too afraid to understand somebody else. You are intolerant. All right? And so that's why we're in a great reset, because how many of you refuse to fucking evolve and you will destroy someone in the process? And so if you don't evolve, Mother Nature will make sure you do and you won't survive it. People do get evolved out of existence. It's called died suddenly, right? You can't play Mother Nature because she is playing humans who don't know how to evolve. Because you have every chance in the world to save yourself and your family, but you still want to destroy other people and blame them. And so if you're in the first world, you have a chance, right? But you have to change your lifestyle and even more, and even move if you need to. If you're in the third world and you see this information, you can always change the way you do things and listen to indicators and get out of harm's way. Like volcanoes, watch for all the monsoons and the hurricanes and the crazy tsunamis, okay? Protect yourself. The fact you have access to this information gives you the upper hand over other people who are completely oblivious. Some of you are resistant to change. Resistance is futile and it will destroy you. Remember, I'm not the enemy, okay? I'm just that one person who was not willing to destroy you. I'm that one person that will risk giving you another truth because no one in your world will ever dare to cross you. How many people who have all these friends will never have a friend tell them the truth about what's going on? They will never say anything different, ever. Physically speaking, I'm not afraid to get hurt physically. I'm not afraid to jump off reasonable heights. Okay, let me go back again. I'm the one person who will risk giving you another truth because no one in your world will ever dare to cross you. Okay? And so physically speaking, I'm not afraid to get hurt physically. I'm not afraid to jump off a reasonable height. So I can jump off the back of my husband's truck. I can jump and not feel like I'm going to shatter an ankle or shatter a bone or break a hip. Because I've spent 3 years at home eating food, releasing demons, eating food, releasing demons, eating food, releasing, where I can even go walk up and down again, like West Virginia. After 7 years of not doing really anything, 3 years of doing absolutely nothing except sit at home and release the demons and take on food. And I've built up my ankles. I've built up my arms. I've built up my heart because my heart was beating out of my chest when I was going up those stairs. And I was perspiring so much, I could have passed out. I could have had all these things if I was deficient, but I was efficient. I had the reinforcement of the body and I took the time to rest. The day before we did that, my husband and I both slept. We took turns sleeping during the day at the hotel when we arrived, because we got up at 3 a.m. and we left around 5 to drive 4 hours or so to where we were going. And then we ate food, we took naps, and then we got up early and we did the things we wanted to do. We had the body for it, we had the rest, and it wasn't a trip that took everything out of us. It was a trip that was relaxing and was nice, and we still, and I didn't really have to recover too much from that trip. Right? Yesterday, I did my Facebook Live, and then today, I'm feeling great. I feel strong. I mean, this thing is still here, but it's not bad. I feel strong with this thing. I'm fine with this thing. This thing is like, I don't know, man. It's like a superpower when you think about it. Okay, so I'm not afraid to jump off of reasonable heights. I'm not afraid to fall. I'm not afraid to get sick. I'm not afraid of food. I'm not afraid of feeling what I need to feel to release the demons. All right. I have given my body the extra weight so I can convert the energy. And who knows how much damage I have within my genetic line, as well as how much more damage from my old lifestyle that needs to be released and repaired. Evolution is never over. It just gets easier to manage over time if you respect your evolution and growth and develop intellectual capability. Life is earned, death is given for free. So when you think about it, even conservative people go on welfare. because they do take the free energy and fail to conserve and do things on their own to live. And so their life is free and death is their freedom. Remember, the system gave you all, Republicans and Democrats and whoever, infrastructure so you can make money or go on some kind of physical disability if you can prove physical disability. The system also gave you access to information so you can improve yourself and the world. Even the conservatives go on welfare. So please spare us your holier than thou attitude because somebody gave you disability or welfare. Because somebody goes on disability or welfare. Everybody is suffering. Okay, everybody is. Some people just hide it. They hide behind HIPAA. They hide behind family and friends and fake smiles. And I will assure you, nobody wants to die now or even tomorrow. So people say, oh yeah, I'm okay with dying someday. Bull fucking shit. If you thought you were going to die today, you'd be going to the hospital, getting oncology and getting all your remedies and surgeries because you think that's going to save you. So I don't want to hear anyone say they're okay with dying because they're fucking not. So shut up. Everybody is on welfare right now because everyone is sucking off the teat of the system. The only difference is, will you survive your own existence? And are you taking people down with you? Or are you helping people to realize their potential within their own selves? And I'm not saying remedy it away. True life, to actually live in our society, you are on your own because you have to be. Only you know what you need. Your friends and family don't know what you need. If you don't know what you need, you will ask everyone and their mother to put their hands on you or in you, and you will ask them for all of their advice if you don't know what you need. Remember, all your followers are for free. The system gave you followers, especially if they have nothing bad to say about you. So when you please 50% of the people, you weren't given all the free energy. You were given all the free energy. That's capitalism playing one side against the other so you can make market share. That's being a liberal. That's being a capitalist. That's being a communist. That's being a conservative Republican. That's being Trump or Biden. You're playing one side against the other. That's playing all the Barbie against the Sound of Freedom. That's black against white. That's the racism stuff. That's market. You see what happens. That young lady, who she has every right to show what's going on. She's making money. She's getting a name for herself. She's getting, mainstream media helping her out. And then all the conservatives who are like defending Jason Aldean, he's making money. They're all making money with all of their, chiming in and all that stuff. So you see how much money is made in controversy, how much money is capitalism is splitting the people and playing one side against the other so they can make market share. That is the old world. And people are going to do that until they completely disintegrate. So for every demon, there's an angel working against them. For every angel, there's a demon working against them. That's capitalism. That's Darwinism. Many of you are playing into those hands because you never realized somebody gave you your belief system and your life and the infrastructure. And you don't appreciate it and you take it for granted. And so I dare anyone to piss off everyone equally and see just how conditioned you are to live and save your own life. Okay, so I dare people who are pointing out the racism in videos to say, okay, what have I done wrong? What have I been racist against? What have I done to give that people that perception? I dare even Jason Aldean to say, okay, what do we do? Oh yeah, we did January 6th. We tried to go overthrow the government. I dare both those people to figure out what they did wrong in their world and how they could be better. But do you see anyone saying that? No, it's all about what they're doing, and nothing about what they're doing themselves. That's what keeps all the activism and all the division alive. And so if you want to really change the fucking world, piss off everyone equally. Question both sides and even question yourself, and always aim to improve yourself. And eventually the world will be improved because people who don't improve themselves, they will disintegrate. Because they'll worship the sun, they'll take all the remedies and surgeries and herbs and extracts, and they will stop feeding themselves, and they will blame somebody else for it until they have nobody else to blame because they're dead. They're gone. And so I dare anyone to piss off everyone equally and see just how conditioned you are to live and save your own life. And some people are not conditioned to do that. They refuse to save their own life. It's always somebody else's fault. Remember, I played both sides of the system and I lost followers. I even received hate from people that used to follow me and like me. I know what it's like to realize and understand both sides of the issue. When I was pro-Trump, I lost anti-Trump followers in the J world. And so, because they only like me when I fit within their very narrow box, because those are fake friends. But are there real friends? You have acquaintances that share a common interest and you respect each other. Do you hang with people? No, all the time, because people have their own lives to do. But we all have, when you think about it, you're on your own. Because even your friends and family can't save you from yourself. Your friends and family will then encourage you to take away life force. So that way you can stay in the game and hang out with them until they take away all your life force, and then there's nothing left. Then you have no more friends and family because they're all fucking gone. So you don't know who your real friends are. They're the ones that keep themselves alive, keep around, so you can still have an energy connection with them. Fake friends take themselves out because all they're doing is taking resources on their way out the door and destroying things on their way out the door because they have no intention to stay around and have that energy conversion with you because they don't intend to stay around. So how do you develop a relationship with people who tend to die? Well, I've made my choice with my husband because we share a common interest. I just hope he survives all this. I'm doing everything I can to help him survive. So that's who I've committed to as far as that type of work. But I can't commit to so many people like him. I can't. He's the only one I really can commit to that's on the other side of the world that balances us both out. Okay? But you can't take on some people that are willing to destroy themselves because then you will fall into that. You have to have that balance. And if you have some people out there that are all mainstream, all about destroying themselves, and you want to hang out with them all the time, then you'll turn into that. That's the issue with those that are embedded, like those detectives, those drug DEA detectives that have to go and get information, so they have to pretend to be the enemy, pretend to be the mafia or something. Then they turn into something like that because they're in it so much. Then you can't tell the difference between a detective. That's like, that was that movie with not Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, was it Leonardo DiCaprio? Yeah, it was. And Matt Damon and Jack Nicholson. And it was based out of Boston. But anyways, so you don't want to embed yourself with people who are destroying themselves because you'll end up destroying yourself. So at some point you have to start extricating yourself away from the death world. So you can visit occasionally because people do what they do, and they're still acquaintances that you like that you'll hang out with occasionally, but you don't want that. You don't want to be completely enveloped by the death world. Okay? And so if that means being on your own, then you'll save yourself and you're mostly on your own. All right? My lip is all dry. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So when you can piss off everyone equally, when you're not relying on 50% of the population to keep you alive, to give you validation, you might have a chance. Okay, so when you can piss off if you're boisterous about whatever and you want to change the world, then piss off everybody and even question yourself, piss off yourself. All right? And I will bet you most people, when they are an activist or in a religion, political thought process, or scientific dogma, you might be too afraid to piss off everyone that follows them, right? That follows you, whatever. Some people don't want the hassle of children going after them. Those are all the bullies. Those are all the cancel people. Those are children going after and canceling their parents, trying to tell them that maybe they should do something differently. And so I understand some of the silence, but I can say those that play one side or the other, they don't have what it takes to survive. If you're quiet and you don't say anything, you might have a chance. Or when you piss off everyone equally, you might have a fucking chance. But those who are loud and boisterous, that are taking one side or the other, I dare you to piss off everyone on your Facebook. I fucking dare you. I dare you to take a stand for your family and yourself and your family and not take one side or the other. I dare you to admit your own shortcomings. I dare you to hold yourself accountable to your participation in this whole mess. I dare you to understand the other side of the other point of view. I fucking dare you to piss off your whole one-sided audience. And so, okay. Whew, it's a lot. Let me see what else. Okay. That's about skinny people and all that stuff. All right, I'm going to take, there's two more. I just want to see how much more. I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking a lot. But that's fine. I'm going to read this because this is important to understand. All right. Size in this environment is proportional to how you adapt to your specific surroundings. And so we are in a major climate shift with either extremely cold or very hot. Do you have the physical infrastructure to handle that type of energy conversion? Most of you do not. You are like the orchestra on the Titanic. Bigger people with vital organ issues, you might need to pull back and relax. Smaller people with vital organ issues, etc., also need to pull back and relax and start feeding themselves. Skinny people who do get sick frequently need the milk, the fat, the cream, the collagen, and they need to gain weight, literally, not feeling everything, not feeling anything, regardless of size or running away feelings, is a huge indicator you are a sitting duck. Scary and dangerous. Eating spicy foods or using aggressive herbs, scary place to be in. But everything is relative, right? And so breaking bones is a major sign of osteoporosis. Children and adults who break bones need to re-examine their food choices. You need more cream in your milk. Skinny people's bodies will deplete the minerals in the bones if the body does not get fat and the substance. So that's why I'm okay with the gain the weight, because that has given my body the substance to convert it into the things it needs, like more muscle relative to me walking around. It converts it to reinforcing my heart when there's the energy in the environment is like completely causing everything to go up and down, right? The brain capacity, I'm using my brain. It gives me more of the intellectual capacity. Skinny people need more of the food. They need the intelligence. They need the substance so the body can convert the energy and distribute it. Okay? So when you have shit in your body and you're releasing it, all of those were the old damage from the old cells and all over your body. Your shit is full of stuff that was the damage in your body. And so if somebody's in the presence of that who is compromised, your shit could then, cause them to go to an immunological response and maybe even strengthen them, right? People do fecal transplants. You take shit from a really strong person, put it into a weak person, you'll see them go through like a crazy metamorphosis and a lot of pain and who knows what, and people get scared of that, right? But that when you think about it, that is somebody taking on somebody else's programming and potentially assimilating to it if they feed it and release their own demons. I'm not into the whole fecal transplant, but I understand why it's there, because that is somebody else's immune system that could then potentially strengthen somebody else's immune system. But, again, that's something that a doctor can do. But even then, when doctors do that, they go and remedy the symptoms. A person gets a symptom because that's what they do in the medical system. Transplants, whatever it is, transplant is then causing the person to suppress their immune system because their body wants to figure out how to deal with this. And then I don't know. I don't want to deal with fecal. I don't want to deal with any transplants. I want to take on the energy in the environment, take on the energy of the people around me, convert the energy to my benefit, and survive. Diversity, survive climate change, survive economical change, survive everything. Okay? And so breaking bones is a major sign of osteoporosis. Children and adults who break bones need to re-examine their food choices. You need more cream, milk. Skinny people's bodies will deplete the minerals in the bones if the body does not get the fat and the substance. Excuse me. Larger people can lose some of the extra cushion and get down to a proportional size so as not to tax the vital organs. The trade-off to life, you must change your lifestyle and yes, feel sick. That is a must. Okay? And so risk of being underweight, well, you see all that. So I'm not going to read all that. Osteoporosis, skin, hair, and teeth problems, getting sick frequently, feeling tired all the time, anemia, irregular periods, premature birth, slower impaired growth. There's a lot of issues with being underweight. All right? And so, the whole Barbie and things, whatever. Okay, some people will share that Barbie thing, but remember, I have that lead-in, that long, like right here. You have to take that and copy that, and then when you share it, then you paste it. When you say share, you got to figure out how to share stuff where you're taking on somebody else's characterizing what they're doing, because I'm not always going to develop my own, I will share other people's and put my own spin on it, okay? And so this is my spin on that Barbie versus the Sound of Freedom. And so I see a lot of right-wing people share the Sound of Freedom and denigrate the Barbie stuff. You will see even in third world countries, like the Philippines, they will share that dichotomy and split people down, and then they'll take on the conservative side and denigrate the Barbie side. And this is the thing about racism and black versus white and the Jason Aldean song, and then the Barbie versus Sound of Freedom. People who are perceived to be one side or the other will be like, well, I'm a black person, or they look like they're a Barbie supporter, but they take on the conservative side. So they seem like they are transcending their own intolerance by jumping to the other side, but then they just took on another intolerance. And so you'll see that in the racist stuff, like with Jason Aldean, you'll see a lot of people who are black will take up for Jason Aldean and not recognize the nuances of potential racism, because Jason Aldean did not post anything about January 6th. It was only about the riots of 2020. Okay? And so you'll see even people who would be perceived to probably take on the side of criticizing Jason Aldean, defend him. And that's what you also see, with the Democrat Republicans. You'll see a bunch of the Democrats that maybe happen to be black then jump to be pro-Trump. You'll see. And so it's a trip watching people think that they're transcending their own intolerance. What do you mean by transcending, surpassing? See, I had to figure out there's a name for those that will then go away from what they would have been in a different world, and then they jump to the other side and then defend those that are perpetrating the crimes. And it's such a weird thing. That's what I'm saying. Get away from the wars, because people will defend something that then they could be looked at as a sellout. Okay, and you see that with the Jason Aldean people that defending them, black and white, and then you see people who are criticizing Jason Aldean and they're black and white. And then you have people who are like, oh, you're going against your own race, you're going against your own kind. And even with the Barbie stuff, you see people who are maybe gay or whatever that would be looked at as a transgender or a gay person, right? And so Barbie was, I guess, supposedly promoting that. And then they go and support the Sound of Freedom. And so it's like, okay, so what? And so it's like either side you take, you're going to be promoting something that you probably would not promote. But that's why I get away from the wars, because they're positioned in a way to make you look like the enemy to somebody else, no matter what. Either side you take, whether it's Barbie or the Sound of Freedom, you will be the enemy to somebody. You'll be looked at as intolerant or promoting, certain kinds of slavery. I don't support any of that shit. I'm not playing into that game. Okay? Nobody should be enslaved. Everyone should be able to take care of themselves. And if you choose to be sexual in whatever way, that's your choice. But all sexuality is taking away substance from the person. You got to build up yourself. Because when you start sexually reproducing, whether it's cells or sperm or egg, you are taking away substance from yourself. You're taking away your own life force. And so I don't support any of that shit. I don't play in those fucking games anymore. I don't play Democrat. I don't play Republican. I don't play the Sound of Freedom. I don't play the Barbie. I'm not watching the Sound of Freedom. I might watch Barbie, but I already know about child trafficking, because we have seen this shit with Epstein, with R. Kelly. We've seen all that shit all over Facebook, what people do to these poor children in third world countries. And we see about the whole thing with Podesta, the whole triangle. I've seen it all in the conspiracy world. I don't need to watch a fucking movie about it. That movie's for people who don't know about this stuff. And they'll get on the bandwagon and then take on that Sound of Freedom and then start playing a game against the whole Barbie stuff. And then people who represent Barbie stuff. And the people who represent Barbie stuff could potentially be just supporting the Sound of Freedom. But people don't know this because they're playing these fucking games. So the newest religion fight of the day, Barbie versus the Sound of Freedom. Really, people? Seriously? You see the brainwashing. You're given choices you cannot possibly win. You support both sides. You support one side. The system will always fucking win. And you will lose because somebody will hate you for whatever it is you support. Whether you support Sound of Freedom or you support Barbie, somebody will fucking hate you. Walk away from these arguments. There is no winning. Take care of yourself. Having children could be great if the parents stayed alive indefinitely. But parents have kids who won't survive because the parents don't want to survive. They don't have any intention to survive. They believe they should die someday. All right? So they get lost in these arguments of Barbie versus the Sound of Freedom. All by design. That actor that played in the Sound of Freedom also played, the Jesus, in The Passion of the Christ. Another Mel Gibson movie reinforcing the story of torture against a person. All right? And so take care of yourself. Having children could be great if parents stayed alive indefinitely. But parents have kids who won't survive because the parents don't intend to survive. So they get lost in these arguments. All by design. All right? So if you adopt either side of the argument, you have been psychologically manipulated. Good luck. Look and see how many people have adopted one side or the other. It's all manipulation. Literally, it's all manipulation. It's all over my Facebook. That's why we're in a depopulation agenda. You see now who is doing it. People do it to themselves. They refuse to evolve. Watch people who perceive to be the other side take on the other side. So you have people perceived to be Barbie supporters promote the other movie and come off like they agree with the other side, even though the other side thinks they are a Barbie supporter. And guess what? No evolution. All you do is just switch sides and take on another intolerance. It happened during the last election when people on the left jumped to the right and they became Trump supporters. So they feel accepted and even potentially feel like they have transcended their own intolerance when all they did was take on another intolerance. You will see people who take sides, transcend their side to take the other side and think they are evolving. And all they did was just take on another addiction and replaced it for another one. That's also in the addiction world, replacing one addiction for the other. Transcending is just another name for another religion. People in politics, religion, and science think they have transcended their belief system by jumping to the other side. What if you took neither side? Yeah, right. Good luck with that. People have too many demons to understand they don't have to take a side. But you see how easy it is to develop a religion. Okay? And so watching the last 3 years with the elections, with all the conspiracy stuff, watching all the new religions that come up, the new fights, whether it's racism or movies that people are promoting, you see the wars. Capitalism is a war. Communism is a war to people because they think, you know, it could be deadly against their lifestyle belief system. And you see collectivism could be a war because of how you promote collectivism and all that, which could be like a communism. And individualism, you don't hear anyone talk about it because then it comes in, because it's been attached to capitalism and the pursuit of wealth and all that. And so, you know, I had to figure out how I'm going to position individualism. Well, when you release those demons, you build up your body and you face the pain and face all the stuff that you ever did, and you hold yourself accountable and acknowledge your own shortcomings, and you piss off everyone in your audience because they're all taking a side, and you piss off everyone equally, and you face all your demons, you will survive all this shit. And you won't have to be, you know, you won't have to be babysat by a policeman. You won't ever have to use a justice system. You won't ever have to use a medical or holistic system. You won't be having a billion kids, if at all. You'll just be minding your own business, taking care of yourself, and you're not worried about trying to convert somebody else. You're not worried about trying to blame somebody else. Now you are the ultimate individual the system wants. And when you have 1,000 people like that who take care of themselves, that they're not, you know, deteriorating and deficient and blaming somebody, you'll have an amazing fucking peaceful society that works together collectively without somebody feeling like they're being slighted or they're being racist against or whatever, or discriminated against. You will have a tolerant fucking working society. Well, that's not going to be for a goddamn long time. Because look around you, everyone. Look around you. Look who can't handle their fucking life. They can't handle the life of society. They can't handle the food, the water, the air, anything. And so what's individualism? Is when you step out of the war. When you stop blaming and you stop feeling like you're a savior or Satan. When you stop looking at yourself as a demon or an angel. And that's why the J world is such a minority. And so what's the first step with the J world? Well, read my first book, or read the book that's out there right now. That's currently out there. Release those fucking demons. Understand you're under a society that balances both sides. The Rosicrucians, they have developed a whole one world, yes. Because all the world's religions out there are based on the same shit. They just have their own little story around it. Religion is a story. And you feel like all the stories have the same characters, the demons and the angels, and all the points in between. So now it's about physics, positive, negative, entropy, and negentropy, balancing both sides. And then you choose, take yourself out of the system and go off into Pleiades or whatever, ascend or descend. Or you choose to stay and be an individual, mind your business, be a contributing member of society, abiding by the law, and mind your own fucking business. And stop converting other people. And then be a representation of someone who's tolerant. Those are your choices. Bye.